Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Reserved Investments. This is probably one of the most important videos I am doing on this channel at present time. And unfortunately, the way that I set this up with the screen sharing, I don't think it's going to get many views. But for those of you that are watching, I thank you very much. For those of you that may be new here, Reserved Investments is a non-hype driven channel devoted to collectible finance. So basically what I do on this channel is I talk about the antiques and collectibles trade from a financial perspective. I'm not here to hold your hand, walk down memory lane while you tell me about your favorite video game, action figure, comic book, or your famous sports athlete in this case. What I am here to do is I look at these markets from the standpoint of somebody that wants to invest in these markets either over the short term or over the long term. As you can imagine, my channel is very controversial as a result. There's a lot of collectors that will sometimes watch my content, but they do sometimes also send me angry emails because I'm too much about the Benjamins. But that is really what the crux is of this channel. And also, it really is about what we're going to be talking about today. Because for those unaware, there was a massive counterfeiting scheme in the sports memorabilia market. And this happens usually every 5 to 10 years in this marketplace. And it is really creating chaos in the market. And the damage is widespread, and we don't know the exact fallout yet. So that's why I'm doing this video. Now, I chose to do this as a screen sharing video because number one, the first thing I want to show you is just over the last week, you can see how many articles are coming out about this counterfeiting scheme that we're going to talk about today. And most of the news conglomerates that are reporting on this are pretty large. We're talking CBS Sports, Fox Business, Sports Illustrated, MSN, Sports Collectors Daily. So we are going to take a deep dive into this. Now, before I begin, you cannot have an investment without risk. Whether we invest in real estate, whether we invest in an S&P 500 index, whether we invest in a rare coin, a painting, or a comic book, there is always going to be some level of risk. Now, looking solely at the antiques and collectibles trade, we talk an awful lot about the overall risk of investing in these markets either over the short term or over the long term. Now, when we break down the antiques and collectibles trade even further into individual collecting categories, obviously, someone who is investing in a high-end piece of art is going to have a different level of risk than somebody who is investing in a Pokemon card that can be third-party graded. Case in point, if you're buying even a sports card or a Pokemon card or whatever it is, if it's third-party graded, chances are you are mitigating risk so that you know, in most cases, probably 99.9 out of 100, that card is going to be 100% legit. There are ways to protect yourself. Now, when we get to markets where there is no third-party grading, number one, those markets are inherently risky. And number two, anytime you have an item that is prone to deterioration, anytime you have an item that is more complex, made of multiple materials that is third-party graded, let me give you a prime example. If we're looking at a factory-sealed video game, if we are looking at a vintage factory-sealed toy or action figure, those items have extra layers of risk versus an item like a trading card, a coin, a piece of paper money that is third-party graded. And I have talked about this in other videos. Now, where I'm going with this, those of you that collect signed items or sports memorabilia that has a signature attached to it, like in this case, those items have an even greater level of risk. And that's why I want to do a deep dive into this. Now, for those who are new to the market for sports memorabilia, you may not be aware of this, but sports memorabilia really came into vogue in the 1980s. In the 1980s, there were a lot of collecting categories that almost became what we now know today as alternate asset classes. We had a rise in high-end art prices during this particular point in time. We had the rare coin grading bubble due to the advent of third-party grading being developed in the 1980s for coins that I talk about in other videos. We also, of course, had sports trading cards and memorabilia skyrocketing in price at this time. And it's very interesting because we also had the junk wax era towards the end of the 1980s that took the baseball card trading market by storm. So it's very interesting how this all played out over the years. Now, in case you're unaware, right around 1999, there was a lot of pressure on the FBI, on the government, to investigate forgeries into not only sports memorabilia, but also celebrity autographs. And if you see my screen, I'm actually on the FBI archives page. And there is an excellent piece here on Operation Bullpen. Now, if you don't know what Operation Bullpen was, I will put a link to this in the video description below when this goes live on YouTube. You can read through this. Operation Bullpen was simply an FBI investigation into forged celebrity autographs and sports memorabilia that lasted roughly from 1999 to 2006. Now, here's the kicker. During this time, the FBI uncovered little over $100 million in fraud in this market. Now, this is where it's interesting, and this is why I analyze everything from an investment perspective. If we're talking $100 million in fraud back in the early 2000s, I'm sure that you guys are aware, over the last 20 years, sports memorabilia has increased in price exponentially. Do you know how much fraud that would be in today's dollar amount and also in today's marketplace? Just to put that as a comparison here. We are talking hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud was uncovered back in the early 2000s. That's the equivalent of this. So now let's talk about this counterfeiting scheme. And before I comment on this, I do have to state that if you're one of these individuals that is over here probably watching this video casually going, you know what, I collect sports memorabilia, but I've already checked, I don't have any of these items that were affected by this counterfeiting scheme. As a matter of fact, I know for a fact, because I went in person, all the stuff that I have signed is by the athlete who signed it right in front of me. I know it's legit. If that's you, this is still going to affect you. Because anytime there is fraud in any of these markets, it leads to a lack of trust and confidence in the market going forward. This can create massive market losses for those not even involved. So case in point, over the next few years, possibly over the next decade, until all the fallout of this is accounted for, there's going to be people that are going to pull back and they're no longer going to feel safe investing in this market. So even if you have something that you know is 100% legit, you go to sell it, you may still be affected by this unfortunate fallout from this counterfeiting scheme. Now, another thing that we got to talk about, even before we get to the details of this, we're in the year 2025. Everybody is familiar with the development of AI. Everybody is familiar with new techniques when it comes to forging signatures, technology that is available now to forgers that they didn't have 20, 30, or 40 years ago. This is going to affect this as well. This is really going to erode trust in not only the sports memorabilia market, but also the market for a lot of signed artifacts. That's why I usually caution people against investing in these artifacts. Even if sometimes you know they're legit, the market can get rocked like a scandal like this, and it does affect the market for it going forward. Now, this is going to even affect, guys, auction houses, dealers, high-profile investors and collectors, of course, and also even there's going to be an increased lens placed on a lot of these authentication services, meaning collectors, dealers, investors, they're going to demand more transparency, more clarity, and to make sure that a lot of these companies are using up-to-date techniques so that they can pretty much identify these forgeries and make sure they're not allowed to enter the marketplace to begin with. Now, I have long argued for increased regulation in the antiques and collectibles trade. And I also write for Antiques and Auction News, where I've argued this point many times. And every now and then, I'll get like a nasty email from somebody that tells me, Sean, the government should not be concerned about people buying trading cards or comic books or even rare coins for that matter. The problem is, though, without a level playing field, at least from the perspective that we know what we're buying, that it is 100% authentic, the marketplace is going to suffer. And those of you that keep coming to me screaming on the top of your lungs that antiques and collectibles are the greatest asset class ever, you need to understand the more risk there is in that market, the more volatile that market's going to become, especially over the long term. So let's talk now about this counterfeiting scheme. And there's an excellent article here that is courtesy of Sports Collectors Daily. And again, I'm going to put a link to this in the video description below. This was published on July 17th, 2025. It is written by Bob D'Angelo, who I think did a great job here separating facts on what we know from opinion. That's why I chose this article in particular. I am going to read a few paragraphs from this. I'm not going to read the entire article. If you guys really want to take a further deep dive, again, the link will be in the video description. So this is the article. It's entitled Counterfeiting Scheme, a Wake-Up Call to Memorabilia Collectors. And I do want to go through here just so that you guys know what we're looking at, what the facts are in this case, because spoiler alert, unfortunately, the person who committed these forgeries, he took his own life. So it's not like the FBI could potentially, work with him to identify how much of this stuff is out there on the open market. Since he took his own life, there really is no one left to pretty much tell us how much of this market was affected, how many of these pieces are still out there and readily available. So here we go. An elaborate counterfeiting scheme that jolted the sports memorabilia industry this week is causing collectors and dealers to reassess how they can spot bogus autographs and keep them out of the hobby. It's certainly an overdue wake-up call, said Sean Chalk, a Canadian collector who is the top collector of Wayne Gretzky memorabilia. To have this come to light on this scale is an eye-opener. And I apologize, Sean. I think I pronounced your name wrong. It's Sean Chalk. Sorry about that. On Wednesday, the longtime Indiana dealer behind the alleged forgeries was found dead of a self-inflicted wound. Officers found the body of Westfield resident Brett Lemieux, age 45, a day after police executed a search warrant at a residence that involved a counterfeit sports memorabilia scheme. Hours earlier, Lemieux allegedly admitted to the forgeries on social media. In a long post, now deleted, on the Facebook Autographs 101 page, Lemieux stated the value of the cards and holograms in his residence was between $500 and $700 million. Now, spoiler alert, again, I'm not going to read through this whole article, but he does state here, we sourced it, signed it, certified it, and sold it all over the U.S. for 20 years. So even if this number is an exaggeration, and I think later in the article here, I think it's Fanatics, they dispute these claims. They think that that is a crazy number. But even if this is just, let's say half this amount, let's say it's only $250 million, you guys realize this is going to rock the market in some way or form over the next coming years. And more specifically, I kind of take issue with the fact that Fanatics is disputing this because obviously they need transparency. They need this market to seem like it's an honest and good place to park your money because of the business they're in. So I have my doubts when somebody from one of these major firms says, oh, it's over-exaggerated. Can we really draw that conclusion yet, guys? I honestly don't think we can until more comes to light about this investigation. So to sum this up, I just wanted to do this video because, again, I consider this to be, at present time, one of the most important videos on this channel because it does take a deep dive into this and give you my thoughts. I personally do not invest in signed autographs. I do not invest in signed sports memorabilia or even signed trading cards for that matter. I do invest, which we will talk about in another upcoming video, signed historical documents That's a little bit different. There is some overlap here. I don't want to get into that right now. We'll talk about that in that own standalone video. But what I am going to leave you with here, just please understand, if you are investing in any type of sports memorabilia for the time being, as long as the overall news media is reporting on this, as long as collectors, investors, speculators are pulling back in this market, there is going to be a lot of risk and turbulence in this market going forward. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know, are you affected by this by chance? I don't know how many views this video is going to get. Again, it is a screen sharing video. Usually those videos don't do all that well. If you did watch it though until the end, please let me know your thoughts. I do want to hear them. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.